Hey there, guys. In today's podcast episode number 20, I've got a finished object, a lot of whips, some acquisitions, and a little discussion on final product expectations based on Ravelry photos. Hey there, welcome back to my channel, String Things by Mel. My name is Melissa. I'm a stay-at-home mom living in Vancouver, Canada, and on my channel I like to chat and share everything about my knitting hobby. Welcome to episode 20 of the String Things podcast. I'm going to update you on everything that has happened since my last episode in September. I only do one regular or typical format podcast once a month. So let's get right into it. My finished object to share is my only finished object, and it is my test knit for Laura Penrose or Penrose Knits, and it's the Sibling sweater my size. Now she has a children's or youth size pattern, just goes by the name of Sibling Sweater, and due to popular demand she also made an adult size. So I have knit, my sample is size 5, which has a finished bust circumference of 51.75 inches or about 130 centimeters. That's not my size. This is a gift for my sister. I have some b-roll of me wearing it just so you can kind of see the overall look of the sweater. It does not fit me the same as it does my sister. Because it's made for my sister, it fits her really well, actually a lot better than how it looks for me. But on my body there is 20 inches or 50 centimeters of positive ease. Now, one of the main kind of selling feature of this sweater is the shoulder construction. So this is a top-down drop shoulder, and it's got quite neat little band here in the back and kind of made extra cool looking with the striping that's in the sweater. So yes, the stripes is part of the design. It has a really nice fold over collar and 1x1 rib cuffs, and also 1x1 ribbing for the body. And there are two options for finishing the body. You can do just knit in the round, or there is a split hem option. So that means you would have to knit flat, the front and the back separately. I can't recall if it says to knit them at different lengths, but you could totally do that if that is the look you're going for. I see split hem is if you perhaps make it a little bit longer, maybe your hips are wider, you don't plan on tucking it in. I did the regular just round hem because I feel like the length I made for my sister works for her hips still, and I think she might just do a French tuck, so that's why I left it as a round hem. And I think from what I've seen her wear, I don't recall many split hem sweater or tops in her wardrobe. So that was my choice there. I also did this as a complete surprise for my sister, and I was choosing the size based on measurements for a sweater I made her last year. So I kind of took a chance. I was just hoping, I hope she hasn't changed too much in size. Luckily, I don't think she has, because she has tried this on once. It looks great on her. It looks perfect, really. I was worried about the sleeve length, so I knit mine exactly as per pattern. There's no modifications other than how I did the fold over collar. So fold over collar is part of the pattern, except I didn't do the purl round, which can be seen in a lot of patterns or a lot of decisions in terms of how to get that collar to fold over. I personally don't like the look or the feel of that, and so I opted to do some double knitting to get that fold in. And yeah, it's pretty much the same look. I just don't have the pearl round in my collar. But in terms of stitch counts, number of stripes, gauge, this is really exactly as per pattern. Now, I did have a little bit of issue getting gauge. Well, I didn't get gauge with the, is it 4mm needles? I ended up having to go way down. I think Laura is a tight knitter and I'm a loose knitter. And you know what, that's okay as long as you can find or adjust your needle size and still get good drape. So not a huge issue because I was able to achieve gauge, and I actually did, I used 2 different needles for my knit rows and my pearl rows. But before I get into that, I'll let you know which yarn I chose. I chose Cascade 220 Superwash Merino, and I did not choose the same yarn as Laura because I wanted something that was a little bit budget friendly and something that could ship to me very quickly because I didn't see myself being able to run out to a store to get the yarn for this project because I had to buy all new yarn. Didn't have anything in terms of superwash in my stash because I knit myself a lot of non-superwash garments, but since this is a gift, I wanted it to be easy to care for my sister. So the colors are cream and ash rose, and it's kind of purple, but it is showing correctly, true to color on camera right now. Some of my photos on Instagram, it comes out a bit more purple, but what you're seeing here is what the color is. What's that, sweetie? You're looking for a drink? Okay, one sec, guys. Okay, yes, Darcy's home. She's supposed to be having her quiet time because she doesn't nap anymore. So there may be some further interruptions. Yeah, so I use Cascade's 220 Superwash Merino. So they do have just a regular superwash line. I went for Merino, which is a little bit pricier, but it is so soft. As most superwash yarns are. This one's really soft and it was actually really nice to work with, and I've decided to use this yarn for my Sweet Shop blanket. So I'm going to use the same cream color as the main color for that blanket. So with this yarn, it is a DK weight yarn, and that's the weight of yarn you need to make the sibling sweater my size. However, I couldn't get gauge, especially working flat with the 4mm needles. So I went down to a 3.5 and a 3.25 millimeters. So I noticed with working flat, I was getting some rowing out, and it turns out I knit looser than I purl. So for the purl rows, I use the 3.5 millimeter needle and knit rows 3.25 millimeters. And that allowed me to achieve gauge. So that was really nice because then I didn't have to worry about any modifications because of row gauge. That's usually that's where my issue was coming up, was not getting close to row gauge. And with this striping and everything, it's a little bit hard to make modifications lengthwise. When you have, so main color is the light color, and in the pattern it has the contrast color is last, and then you have main color for the ribbing. So if you want to make any adjustments to the sleeve length, you kind of have to eliminate 2 stripes so you get back to a contrast color. And if your row gauge is off, so if I hadn't changed my needles and my row gauge was actually really big, well, not really big, but my stripes were greater than what they were supposed to be, then that was probably going to throw things off. But the really nice thing about having stripes as well is, and because of the size and number of rounds or rows for the stripes, it made it really easy to visually see my progress, and I didn't have to use a lot of stitch markers as I would, say, going down the sleeve or going on the body. I actually didn't have to use any stitch markers to mark off my decreases for the sleeve because they line up with the stripes. And because I had gauge that I just, based on what part of the stripe I was at, I knew where to place the decreases. So that just made it just really relaxing, a little, worry-free kind of knitting. My favorite thing about this knit is actually the color. Yes, I know there's like this great design feature on the shoulder, but the collar is, in my opinion, it's like just the right amount of plumpness with this weight of yarn, and it's not high. I don't like ribbing. Like if it's not a turtleneck or a mock neck, I don't want it anywhere up my neck. If it's going to be a crew neck, it's got to be down here. And I think it sits, anyways, on me and my sister when I saw her briefly wear it. It sits in a very nice spot. It's not too low, but not too high, and it's not too wide. Now, before you pick up stitches for the neckband, I will say it might look like the neck is going to be huge and that you're going to end up with a boat neck, but trust the process. I picked up the exact same number of stitches as stated in the pattern, and yeah, I really love this color. I would do this pattern again, even just one color. Comparing to other drop shoulder patterns that are out there, I would just choose this one based on how much I like the color. And in fact, I did cast on a one color version. Yeah, I'll try to remember to show that to you guys. But yeah, the color is a big seller for me. So that is my only finished object to share for this month. So let's get into the whips. And I have a lot of them, and they all got cast on in a matter of 48 hours. So not too long ago, my husband was away for work. He was gone for 2 nights, but it really worked out to more like 3 days. And if you're a parent, and when you're having those solo parenting periods, you start counting in days rather than the nights. But I had 2 evenings and nights on my own to be totally free, watch what I want, eat what I want. No, it's not like my husband restricts me in any way, but because I didn't have any distraction or my husband to talk to, I just worked on knitting, looking at different patterns, and I just started casting on one thing after another because I felt like nothing was really holding my attention. I've been having a little bit of maybe like a knitting mojo crisis since finishing, or even before I finished my test knit. I was just approaching or getting this feeling like I wanted to knit, but nothing was making me happy. And not that I was like totally depressed about it. And I have my Moby Sweater that I had on the needles, but because my personal deadline for my Moby Sweater is Christmas, which I have a feeling that because it's so far away that I wasn't feeling motivated to actually work on it. And I realized that I have been working with a test knit deadline of some sort since the month of April. I've been doing a test knit every month since April. And I also had my Audrey top butted dress with a tight 1 week deadline for the Beyonce concert. have always had some sort of like end goal or deadline for my knits. And without a deadline, I had too much freedom, if that makes any sense. So yeah, procrastination, lack of motivation. And I also just felt like some things that I was doing was just like a loss after a loss. Like I really need a win, guys. My sweet shop blanket which was something I cast on, and it's supposed to be kind of a long-term project. Do it in between when maybe my brain's tired, less gymnastics, brain gymnastics. But I messed that up. So what happened was, so I've got all these mini skeins here. And the idea for this pattern is that you use half a skein, half of your color equals one triangle. So if you do it correctly, you get two colored of the same colored triangles. And you know, I was just got my scale out and everything, worked out my first triangle. I was like, perfect, I've met halfway. Get to my next skein, I'm like, why can't I get to the same number of stitches? And I just completely missed it, forgot that some of my mini skeins are 25 grams and a lot of them are the kind of standard 20 grams, but I started with a 25 gram mini skein, which was not a good idea. So I decided to just start over. So I did rip back one of the colors because I decided to use it, but yeah, I had to adjust my stitch count since my first try. And yeah, fortunately, I'm on the right track now, but that's nothing about the pattern. That was all me. But yeah, it's coming along now. Got a long way to go to do the full-size blanket, but I like how the colors are turning out so far. I'm kind of just choosing a color as I go, trying to make sure it's not too similar of a color, but also, like, I started out doing like opposite of the color wheel, but I don't know if that's gonna get me far and like still look good. But anyways, trying not to think too much about it, and thankfully now I don't have to, now that I've fixed my screw up of number of stitches. So that's going. Have that in between now. So that's starting to feel less of a loss and more of a win. My Moby sweater, my goodness, I was just a few rows away from joining the front and back to knit in the round. Holy crap, the rain is coming down really hard again. Wow. It's gonna be a wet week. And I noticed in this kind of whatever traveling stitch motif pattern, sorry, I don't know, I've got cables coming out everywhere. I realized at some point I made a mistake because I went to, you know, make the stitches travel or cross over, because it's not a real like cable. There's a different way of it's not done like a true cable. And I noticed a stitch was off, and I thought, well, that's weird. Maybe I just crossed them over on like the wrong spot. And wow, sorry, this rain. And so I decided to try to fix it because it was gonna bother me. To the common eye, probably wouldn't have noticed it. So I decided to ladder down to the mistake. And the mistake was at least like 10 rows down, but I felt okay doing it. And then once I started to ladder down and try to fix it, then I realized the issue was larger than I thought, and it looked like maybe I was actually missing a stitch, that I actually may have dropped a stitch at some point, and that's why everything was getting askew. And then when I realized that was the issue, I couldn't really just ladder back up, so I ended up frogging back. I took my needle out, inserted it at a point like as if making a lifeline, and I ended up having to frog back almost 16 rows. Yeah, that was like 2 days worth of work, like 2 evenings, I don't know, but whatever, it is what it is. I had to put it in timeout for a little bit, but you know what, I'm happy that I went back and that I fixed it, because that was just going to screw up my counts for doing, you know, when to cross over these stitches and everything. So yeah, made a mistake, tried to fix it, found out it was a bigger mistake, and you know, whatever. So I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm almost at a point to do like another cross in the cable here, and so, but I have 3 more of the cable cross to do, and then I'll be able to join in the round. But yeah, for whatever reason, because again, when I said that the deadline was too far away, I wasn't as motivated to work on it. And it wasn't even that my hands were hurting from the texture. The texture is actually, yeah, it was not hurting my hands. So that was not why I didn't want to work on it. It kind of was in the beginning, but I found a good rhythm and a good tension. So yeah, it doesn't hurt my hands. But yeah, that had to go in timeout for a bit, and I have not worked on it. Like, I fixed the issue, and I have not worked on it since. All right, so my next whip that I wanted to share is related to my last video called This or That. And that's when I was comparing 2 V-necks, because I want to add another V-neck cardigan, and I just realized I didn't say what I'm wearing today. Wow, the light's getting really bright. The weather can't decide what it wants to do right now. Getting blown out a bit, but I am wearing my sake cardigan, my Noro Madara in the colorway sake. I got buttons. Yeah, I just saw these in today. I showed these buttons in my performance review video, so if you want to get a look at that, but they are faux shell buttons, so they're made out of polyester. I bought them off of Etsy. The shop is called Buttonbox, and then it's Leicester. You not pronounce it Leicester? Yes, but it's like Leics, so they've shortened it. Yeah, so out of the UK, shipping was surprisingly quick. I don't know why it's like quicker to get some things from the UK than in Canada sometimes. It's kind of ridiculous. But yeah, I was really happy to find these, because I had been searching for buttons for a long time. Like, I finished this cardigan, I think in the spring or early summer, and have just been wearing it with no buttons since. I knew I wanted something kind of like mother of pearl button, but didn't like how mother of pearl looked. Like, it was too white, like too light, and then obviously just like plain black would be too dark. Had some tortoiseshell buttons, but they just, I don't know, nothing was really satisfying and like matching the color or the colors in the sweater that in a way that I liked. And then I finally found these on Etsy and took a chance. Luckily, the photos on this Etsy shop were pretty accurate. Like, what I received is what I saw on screen, and I don't mind that they're not real shell buttons and they have this kind of fake texture to them. The other side is smooth though, so if you don't like the texture, you can just use the smooth side, and it's the same color on the other side. But yeah, it's like a little bit of green, pink, brown, but also some of that pearlescent white in there. Yeah, really happy that I found them, also in the size that I needed. And now that I have the buttons on, I'm like, I don't think I can wear this unbuttoned again. Like, I really like the look with the buttons, even with like my little turtleneck that I got here. Yeah, very excited for the new outfits and styling options I have now that I can close this with the buttons. So yeah, this one was kind of a semi-drafted, self-drafted pattern. It's based on the look of the champagne cardigan. Yeah, that is what I'm wearing today. Okay, yeah, so my this or that video, sorry, I got zipper going, comparing 2 V-necks. I wanted to add another V-neck, and I guess spoiler alert, I chose the pattern called the Cocktail, and it's from Marie Christine or Tricot Designs, and it is top down and contiguous method for the shoulder. I recommend you watching that video if you want more of an explanation of the similarities and differences between the two. So it was the Semper from Knit Pearl Girl and Cocktail from Tricot Designs, and I have already cast it on. So I'll show you my swatch just so you can see the color. This is a color that's going to be discontinued. It's from the Sandusgarn Sunday Petite Knit line, and it's called Brick. I bought this from Art of Yarn, and it was on sale. So regular price is $11 per skein. The sale price was $8 or $8.80 or something like that. And I've really been feeling the reds. So I decided to buy a cardigan's quantity even before I chose which one. But since those two cardigans have the same yarn weight and really close yarn amounts needed, I felt comfortable just ordering the yarn before choosing the pattern. But I have cast on, and the neckband or the button band is worked at the same time as the body. So you can see the neckband, you start it in one direction and then you have to come back and pick up and work in the other direction. And then you pick up along the button band to start working on the body. Now, a viewer left me a comment on the this or that video saying that they preferred the look of the cocktail as well, but also asked if I had noticed how the collar kind of sticks up and out in some of the photos, and no, I hadn't. So I went to Ravelry and checked the photos, and indeed, so there's not many projects in there, and there's 14 because this pattern was released, not even 2 weeks ago, I think. So I imagine the photos that are in there could be most likely test photos. And yes, you look at some of the women in the photos and their collars are like up and out and like away from the neck, away from the body. And for whatever reason, I hadn't really looked at the Ravelry project photos for either of those cardigans. And so I really appreciate this person commenting and pointing that out. But for me, it did not deter me from this cardigan or did not make me want to change my decision. It actually intrigued me, and I kind of saw it as like a challenge accepted moment, because now I really wanted to dig into the design, the pattern, and see if it's knitting error or if it's something in the design, and kind of report back to you guys and give you a review. Now, I knew it was kind of, for me anyways, low risk. Like I would find out right away if it looked like my neckband was going to do that, because it's all done at the same time, and you got to pick up the stitches, within the first like couple steps of instruction in the pattern. So decided to go ahead with it. And so, did you say you're a bit hungry? Oh, okay. Well, Darcy said she's a bit hungry, so we're going to have an intermission here, guys. All right, gave Darcy a snack. So let's talk about the construction of this. So you knit the neckband first, and this is my theory of why the collar stands up in some of the photos that I saw, and I think it has to do with the ratio of, the rows in the neckband and the number of stitches you need to pick up along that neckband. Now, the pattern does say knit your neckband to X amount of inches or centimeters, and it gives you an exact number, per size of how many stitches you will be picking up alongside or from that neckband. Now, I think I'm guessing that maybe it's a little bit of knit error, but maybe both, because so this is the thing about looking at a new pattern and there's just these test photos, and anyone else that's going to look at these photos, would it deter you from doing this pattern? Even though on the sales page of the designer herself, like her collar is better looking, not perfect, but it is a lot better looking than some of the, I'm assuming they're test photos. You know, would that stop you from knitting up this pattern? Or could it be that this was an issue discovered in during the test knit period, and the final pattern that's now for sale has actually been corrected and your collar shouldn't turn out that way? Now, I haven't done too much digging into this, and I don't recall reading anything on the sales page for the pattern, whether that was an issue or not. Should designers say if there was an issue like that? Because your test knitters photos are, you know, another way of advertising your pattern. But if they don't advertise correctly, that could be a negative or a loss of a sale. So yeah, I don't know. I recently had the experience where for the Cameron pullover test, which is from Sarah Noel Knits, and there was an issue of sleeve length. And it wasn't that she graded it incorrectly. It was graded correctly for the original measurements that she was basing off of, which was Craft Yarn Council's measurements for children. It just turned out in the real world that sleeve length didn't match up any of our children. But that's why you have a test knit, so you can figure this out. And I know outside of, you know, because I'm friends with Sarah, outside of speaking with Sarah and being in the test knit, I believe she did say on Instagram that she had kind of postponed her pattern release because she wanted to rework the sleeve length. So, you know, there's an example of the designer actively telling the public that there was a sleeve length issue, but it's corrected in the final pattern. And it makes me want to actually go back to my photos or my Ravelry project page for that pattern and say, like, okay, yes, my title says knit, but I kind of want to go back and say, you know, my sleeve length is from the test knit pattern, but that's been since corrected. Because if you look at the photos of Darcy wearing this sweater, looks super cute anyways, with the sleeves rolled up. But the sleeves are rolled up like not once, but twice. So they're really long on her, but whatever, it looks really cute rolled up. But if someone saw that and didn't know that that was an issue, would you think like, oh, this children's pattern is, you know, has sleeves that are too long? Like, I don't know. But anyways, so that was, you know, those were some thoughts that came up from that comment and just looking at the photos. And yeah, what do you guys think about that? So moving on a little bit more about picking up the stitches and why I think maybe it could be knitter error is unblocked versus blocked. So when a pattern says knit for 4 inches, let's just say 4 inches because it's easy, because I can do the math that way. The gauge for this pattern is 20 stitches by 28 rows. So if it says to knit for 4 inches and you hit gauge in your swatch, then that should mean you knit 28 rows. However, while you're knitting, I can see how some people kind of like disregard that and just measure their work, you know, get out your measuring tape and measure it and like, oh, I haven't hit that 4 inches yet. I got to keep going. No, don't do that. Do both. Do refer to your swatch and your blocked gauge, and you can do measurement just to be safe. So what I do is whenever it says knit to a certain length, I consult my swatch, consult my gauge in my swatch, and calculate the number of rows based on that. And then I will measure my work just to see how far that is. So the unblocked fabric should be a little bit like scrunched, and it's going to be most cases shorter than what your relaxed washed fabric would be. So if the knitter just went off of their unblocked fabric, then I could see them doing too many rows, which is going to throw off the pickup ratio for the body stitches, which would then result in the collar sticking up or flaring out. So that's my 2 cents on that issue. So I was very careful to calculate number of rows. I did do a measurement as well. But I don't think, I mean, I don't have much of the body worked up. I don't know. But I don't think I'm going to have a collar flaring out issue. I'm trying to, yeah, I think it's gonna be okay. We'll see. If I'm totally wrong, I will be ripping it all out. When will that become obvious? I don't know. Hopefully not at the very end, because that would be a little bit disappointing. But I guess in a way, I'm experimenting this for you guys too. So yeah, that is where I'm at with the cocktail cardigan. I also kind of consulted my Vellon tee, which is the tee I wore at Flock Fiber Festival. It's really colorful V-neck, which is also contiguous method with a neckband worked at the same time. And I was looking at like the neckband rows versus the number of pickup stitches, as well as the late summer wrap from Knitting for Olive is also worked and started the same way. Looked at the neckband stitch rows versus pickup stitches, and the percentage, like the ratio, is very similar across all three. So that makes me think that my cocktail is going to be okay. So yeah. Maybe it'll only be a little bit off and blocking will help it. I don't know. We will find out. When? I don't know, because I'm just like kind of scattered everywhere. I don't even know. I am not going to show you all of my WIPs because I don't have meaningful things to say about all of them. Some of them I feel like I'm going to frog. But yeah. But since I did mention the late summer wrap, this is something I purchased the kit directly from Knitting for Olive, I think in May, maybe April. But it was something my cousin and I, it was like a joint effort, treat ourselves. My cousin has already made hers and finished it, and I saw hers and I'm jealous. She chose not the bright white, like an off-white color, and I chose black. This is very typical of us to choose opposite things, but like want the same thing but not the same color. But you can see it's black, so you can't see much, but it's constructed in very similar manner to the cocktail. It's described as a saddle shoulder in the pattern description or the garment description, but I would argue that it should be labeled as contiguous method construction, because from what I understand, saddle shoulder is where you actually knit the two pieces of the saddle and then later pick up the stitches separately and then add the collar afterwards. So that's why I think that one should be called contiguous. But yeah, this is in a strand of their merino and a strand of their soft silk mohair. This is my first time using Knitting for Olive yarn, and it's quite nice. And the price ordering from them directly and shipping and everything was really not that bad. It actually turned out to be less expensive than me buying in Canada. So yeah, and because this was the only thing I purchased, it came out to about $100 Canadian. I wasn't hit with any duties or extra taxes on my shipment, so that was really nice. Because I have a feeling if you go over $100, some other fees may be involved, added on, charged, whatever. Yeah, so got all those whips. The final whip I'm going to share with you is the one that has my attention right now, and it is something that I've just kind of made up with the help of 2 other patterns. So I mentioned the Cameron pullover, and that is something I knit for Darcy. It's a broken rib stitch pattern, and I have been really loving that oversized fit on her, and I want one for myself. I probably won't look as cute. Probably, I mean, most definitely. Like, she's adorable. Like, okay, I know, I'm not going to compare myself. And I said that I wanted to have some sort of, like, really cozy, easy to throw on sweater. So I just decided to turn that into a broken rib sweater. So using some kind of like techniques and ideas from the Cameron pullover pattern, and then some measurements from the Sibling sweater my size, I have cast on a broken rib drop shoulder sweater for myself. Because I'm using measurements and ideas from paid patterns from other designers, this isn't something that I'm going to be like sharing stitch counts and things. I'm not going to be developing my own pattern. This is a purely personal project for myself. But yeah, I'm really happy with how it's working out. It took me quite a number of tries because instead of just working it out on paper and doing a lot of the math, I just had the time because Darcy was sleeping. My husband was out for hockey, so I just did it by trial and error and trying to figure out, okay, well, I want this depth. I need this many stitches to be increased from the cast on, like which increase method is going to work. It took some experimentation, but I finally landed on increasing on every row. So different from the increases in the Cameron pullover. Because I am an adult. I need way more stitches to increase than on a children's pattern. And I'm really happy with how my increases are turning out. So I have this kind of like, this is the angle for where the drop shoulder or like the front panels will be picked up from here. But I like how I've been able to maintain the broken rib stitch pattern and then have this kind of line. The same kind of line that's on the Cameron pullover. I'll have that on mine, and then I have a different gauge because I'm not using the same yarn as a Sibling sweater, but I was reviewing the sizes from Laura's pattern, and so this distance to cast on and then plus my gauge, that's how I figured out how many stitches to cast on. But yeah, I'm really excited. So this one has all my attention right now. It's also not too labor intensive, or, you know, I don't have to think too much about it. It's quite a simple stitch pattern and simple construction. I know what I'm doing at each point. So at least right now anyways. And the yarn I'm using is from Hobie and Tony. Well, that's getting kind of blown out. The Happy Place yarn, which was released, I think it was September 1st, wasn't it? But I ordered 2 different colors, both from the Melange line. I ordered Cinnamon, and this one's called Sand, and it is a 50% cotton, 50% wool blend. And so the cotton is undyed, I believe, and this is the Melange. There's also a solid lineup, and then the wool is dyed in this, you know, sand color, as the name said. So it's not coming out marled, also because of this color, like the cotton and the wool are so similar in color. So, but for me, it gives it just enough like heathering along with the stitch pattern. Yeah, I think it's really nice. And it is a little bit see-through, I don't know if you can tell. I don't have any light source behind me, but it's not very dense because of the cotton. I think helps with defining the stitch, but it's really soft. So I think this will be a great all year round option for me. We'll see if it grows a lot. So I didn't actually gauge swatch this stitch pattern. So I have swatched this yarn on its own with the recommended needle size, which is 4 millimeters, using stockinette, because I cast on a one color sibling sweater. Here it is. So just kind of winging it based on this swatch, even though I'm working in broken rib. So let's hope I don't end up with a sweater that has way too much positive ease. We'll see. But yeah, this is the cinnamon color from the Melange line. And so the wool is the brown and the cotton is the lighter color. And so this one has a bit more contrast, so it has almost more of a marling effect rather than a heather. Maybe it's kind of heather marled, but it's not a true marl because it's not two separate strands of contrasting color mixing up or knit up there. But yeah, whew. That's it for whips. I'm not one that likes to have lots of whips, and I have so many whips that I ran out of project bags, and this part of it comes from a little bit of my guilt. I don't know if it's really guilt, but I've accumulated a lot of yarn. I've done a lot of yarn purchases since Flock, so including Flock, since Flock, and I don't want to say yarn ban, but I need to go on a break because I'm starting to lose sight of the projects I have in my queue. I don't want to get to a point where like I change my mind about the yarn, which I don't think I will because I really like all the yarn I've purchased. I just have this feeling like I really want to use all this yarn. I don't know when I'm going to use it. So that's why I started madly casting all these different things. And you know what? I'm not going to get through my whole stash in 1 month. So why am I about it? So I need to slow my roll and just get back to just being happy with my knits, do my knitting, kind of accept that a lot of those whips are going to have to hibernate for now and I'll have to come back to them later and just focus on, like the 2 or 3 rather than trying to work on like 6 or 7, or I don't even know how many there are now, but too many. Okay, so I mentioned some acquisitions and that's what we're going to round out this episode with. The first one is something I purchased along with that brick colored yarn from my cocktail cardigan, and it's this little guy. I will say, just like when I ordered this one, so when I received this one, this is the Mood Saturn XL. I opened the package. Oh my god, it seems bigger than I thought. So I went through a period of, oh my gosh, should I try to return it? Like, am I going to use this? Like, obviously I kept it. And this one has been really great for at home because it stands up on its own. It does fit a whole sweater project. So size-wise, it's good. And if you are larger than me, because I'm like a size extra small, you will have room for your sweater, I think. Is this? Oh yeah, this is the one I was using for my sister's sibling sweater, which is size 5. My battery's gonna die. Okay, it was a good thing my battery, well, not a good thing that my battery died, but because I had to go back to my room, I realized that my acquisitions were all sitting in my room still, so thanks, universe. Okay, yes, back to the Mood bag. I'm really glad I do have this big black one for at home. It's just closes nicely. If it gets knocked over, things don't fall out. Also, Darcy's just really good at usually not rummaging through my knitting bag now. She knows it's mom's work stuff. But yeah, I find that it's not great for carrying because doesn't collapse on itself at all. So it's just like this big barrel that if you try to carry on your shoulder. So transportability, not the greatest. And so I was kind of looking for something smaller, for smaller projects, going to the playground with Darcy when I do preschool pickup or drop off when it's not pouring rain out. I saw Art of Yarn had this Mood Saturn Mini, and I looked at the dimensions, and it was going to be half the height of the XL and just a little bit smaller in diameter. And I was looking at the big one thinking, okay, yeah, that seems like a good size. And then it arrives with my yarn, and I look at it, and again, for this time, that's smaller than I thought it was going to be. And then I had to go in timeout for a bit because I had to decide whether I wanted to actually keep this or return it. And then, well, obviously I decided to keep it. But I, again, was, But, so my biggest concern about how small it is, but it looks so cute. I was like, this is not going to fit any of my projects. I don't knit small things. I'm not a sock knitter. What the heck am I going to fit in this thing? And then I thought about it some more with more of a clear head, and when this was in timeout. And I'll show you what I have in here right now. I do have the strap. So this comes with a removable strap. So that is a big selling feature versus the regular, just like the Saturn, which does not have any strap whatsoever. I feel like the size of that bag, though, is really more of like the size I want, but there's no strap. So that's why I didn't get it. So the strap for this one is actually in here, in the bottom. And I have a hat project in here. And I hear Darcy. What's up, sweetie? You need a little bit more food? Okay. Oh, yeah, it's getting close to dinner time. Yeah. Okay, I'll get you a little bit more snack, and then I'm almost done, and then we'll make dinner.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, back to the mini. So it has a hat project in there. One skein, or one ball. I've actually got the Oslo hat on the needles, just with some yarn that was in my stash, and I don't need this hat right away, but it's also kind of the only project I have right now that fits in this bag, so this is what lives in this bag right now. But I do have plans for more hats, and then I was also thinking some of the stuffed animals that I'm planning to make. This little bag could be good for that. So yeah, any other ideas of what to put in this bag? It's actually a good size just purse. I used this the other day as just a purse. I use just a little card sleeve as a wallet, not a big wallet, because I often just put my cards in my pocket, so I just use a sleeve. And yeah, it's not too big, so it doesn't feel like a giant barrel hanging off and like slapping me in the butt or the side. So yeah, it's getting better. It's still not like quite my expectations, but I'm keeping it. So that was one acquisition. And so post Knit City, Elise of Sunday Fiber Co. had a very big in stock update, and she was offering free shipping, and I wasn't going to partake. And then she was showing a base called the Aura Sport and mentioning it. It was at Knit City. I was like, wait, what? It was? I don't remember it, because I went to her booth more than once. Also just to like chat. And I was like, oh man, I wasn't gonna buy yarn, but I have to buy that base. Gotta have that base. So I bought 4 skeins of the Aura Sport. And in particular, again, feeling the reds because she released a spreadsheet of what she was going to have. And I wasn't interested in the other colors. I mean, I just bought Drift DK in abalone. But rosewood. Sorry, I was thinking there was another yarn I was looking at. 4 skeins. Aura Sport is the base name. It is 50% Surrey alpaca, 50% merino, 3-ply, non-superwash, tonal, and the color rosewood. So I can kind of feel like maybe I did see this on the rack at Knit City, but because it wasn't really on my list of things to get, so I didn't really see it. But yeah, this is quite nice. And do I know what I'm gonna make with this? No. Sarah, she works at the studio for Elise, and she messaged me because she was actually packaging my order, and she said, so what's it gonna be? And I replied with, it's a mystery to me too. Normally I have a specific project in mind, but this is one of those cases where I just really wanted this yarn. And I like that it's not too bright, but it's like a peachy red, I guess. This particular color, I find it hard to photograph. Like on camera right now, I feel like it's pretty good. It's like maybe a little bit blown. Oh, there we go. Camera adjusted a bit. There we go, guys. There's the color. That is, yeah, pretty bang on right there. Maybe a little bit lighter. Maybe coming off a little bit too orange, but I think that's pretty good. But you can see in the skein, there's a little bit of darkness, a little bit of lightness, you know, tonal as per Elisa's style for all her yarns are tonal. And then you can see the Surrey alpaca poking up a bit there, a little bit of a halo. But Surrey's not like mohair. It's more of got like a brushed look to it. Like it's not as hairy, I find. But I do find Surrey to be very soft, maybe even softer than mohair. But now I don't even know, like they might be on par, because now since I've been buying like good quality mohairs, or other than drops, sorry to pick on drops. Yeah, they're relatively close now that I've tried other mohairs. But this is sport weight, so 100 grams, there's 300 meters, so I have 1,200 meters of this, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it. It's going to be a top. I'm kind of thinking something with not so much positive ease. I was thinking maybe a simple long sleeve fitted crew neck. Maybe you're not feeling well? You want to come sit here with me and finish the episode? We're only got a couple more things. Oh, your apple's on the counter over there, sweetie. Okay, I'm almost done. And also from Sunday Fiber Co., I bought her, she's got notions in her shop now, and I bought some, I'm taking out the bag for you, needle stoppers, which Darcy hasn't seen these, but I'm sure she's going to see them now and want to hold them. What do you think of them, Darcy? They're just little needle stoppers, and these ones are the green daisies. Yes, you may have one, sweetie. Here you go. It's not food. Yeah, so don't put that in your mouth. Yeah. Here, do you want the other one too? Okay. There you go. They're for Mama's knitting. You're all done? Okay. It's okay. You can play with them. But they're just, I'm pretty sure they're made of some sort of silicone-like material. It didn't say on here. Okay, so that is what I bought from Elise. These were $40 each. So yeah, I spent a pretty penny with her. And oh, actually, no, that's it. That's it for acquisitions, because I already mentioned the cocktail cardigan, which that yarn I purchased with the mood bag. I'm done, guys. I've hit an hour. Yeah, that's long enough. So that is everything that has happened. I'm still adjusting to Darcy not napping. As you can see, she's, very fortunate that she's just been quietly playing on her own in her room. She's kind of like a teenager. She just like goes to her room and shuts the door. But it's been an adjustment for her as well. Also with it's like cold and flu season. She's got a bit of a cough. She's had a cold. She's been sick. So not having that midday nap for her as well, along with a cold. She's been cranky, grumpy, throwing some tantrums. Being a toddler is tough. Being a parent to a toddler who is struggling is tough, and it has been mentally exhausting, and the sleep hasn't been great when she's like full on sick, and I'm hoping we get through this soon. Hoping with some quiet time that she's had today that she sleeps better. I feel like part of my lack of motivation in Knitting Mojo has been because of my exhaustion, my parental duties.
These are flowers. These are flowers.
Yes, those are flowers. But yeah.
I want to have a real food.
You want to have some real food now?
Mom, I want to have real food.
Yeah, okay, well. Okay, can you wait 5 minutes and I will get dinner out for you?
No, snack.
Another snack?
Uh-huh.
Okay, well, still, can you wait 5 minutes?
Uh-huh.
Okay, thank you. But yeah, this is just, luckily I do have her preschool time to hopefully record these episodes, but with her being sick and just like me not feeling as into it on those days, and then comes a day where she's not at school, and then I'm in the mood for recording or knitting. I don't know. So hopefully things, line up a little bit better. Hopefully, like mentally, I get a bit more rest and peace that way. I think part of what made it difficult was that my husband was away for those 3 days when she was really getting cranky and really struggling with poor sleep and being sick. And then I was tired of solo parenting, and there's just a bad combination of things. So, yeah, I think, it's just on the up and up now, hopefully. But that's just a little vignette window into parenting a toddler, my mom life. And yes, we shall bring this episode to a close now because I am rambling. Thank you to Darcy for being really good and letting me sit down. There were a few interruptions, but letting me sit down and record this video because it did not happen while she was at preschool. And thank you to you guys for hanging out with me. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions or thoughts on today's episodes. I always enjoy reading the comments. I love answering the questions when there are some. So feel free to leave me some. So until the next one, guys, happy knitting. Bye.